Hi, my name is Rich Harrington, and welcome to this episode of Adorama TV. Today, we're taking a look at the very popular Canon Rebel T4i. This is the latest version of the Rebel in their series, and it's a nice Reb with some really cool features. Now, the one that I had a chance to play with is the kit, and this comes with an 18 to 55 millimeter lens. The lens ranges from 3.5 to 5.6. It is an image stabilized lens, which is nice. This means that when you start to shoot handheld, it's going to go ahead and help frame up those shots and get rid of some of that actual noise. So you could turn the stabilizer on and off with just a simple switch right there in the body of the lens. Off if you're going to be on a tripod, on if you're going to be doing handheld. Highly recommend that option. Works really, really well. Now, this feels really good in the hands. It's about 18 ounces for the body only. Obviously, as you change lenses, the weight's going to vary, but it has a really nice finish here. What I like is the grip. So for a camera body without actually having a separate battery grip, this is really nicely textured. I really like how they've modified this. You see there, I could really get that in my hands. Very, very solid, easy to hold on to, feels comfortable. Now, what I like here is I took this camera out just to shoot with it. So the sample photos that you're seeing, I went to the National Air and Space Museum. It was a Halloween get-together, took my kids there and was having fun with it. And this really is, let's face it, the geeky mom or dad camera. This is a camera that's great for the person who wants to step up, get pro controls, and really have the best of both worlds. This camera has super intuitive auto settings, really good options here for doing even a new creative auto, which we'll talk about in a moment. But you can go ahead, flip over to total manual controls, things like aperture priority, shutter priority, or flip over to a scene mode if you're more comfortable. This really is a bridging camera. What's nice is how fast this is. It's the Digic 5 image processor shooting 8 megapixels. Now this is a CMOS sensor with the normal APS-C size, so it is a crop sensor, but that's okay. This is going to be great for those of you who are looking to get into DSLR shooting and want to really make that jump. The ISO is nice. It goes between 100 and all the way up to 12,800, although I did find for the most part you're going to float between the 100 and the 6400 with the standard shooting. Now, it is a 14-bit shot here, so it's got a 14-bit image before it does the conversion to digital. Works great, and I am getting up to 5 frames per second here for shooting action, which is nice. 9-point autofocus, so it does a good job of tracking the scene, and a pretty beefy file size, about 18 megapixels. So, what's included in the kit? Well, of course, you get the camera body. You're going to go ahead and get the lens, the 18 to 55 millimeter, a good entry-level kit lens, although certainly you could step up and put any other Canon type lens on here as long as it fits with the EF type series. We're going to also have a strap, caps, cables, batteries, charger. What I do like is the sensor is actually self-cleaning, so you could set that to go ahead and trigger the clean or manually invoke it from the menu. And it, of course, comes with a typical 1-year warranty. Now, one of the things I really like here with this camera is the LCD. What's nice is that it actually offers a swivel screen. So you see I could turn that out. This means that when I flip it back here, let's just pop that on, I can see the screen and sort of standard DSLR mode. But if I need to, maybe I want to swing that out and tilt it down. This works great when shooting video. For example, I could be looking into the image and see what's happening. This is nice because it's going to give you multi-angle shooting, and I really find this comes in handy when trying to angle and get the shot, particularly for lower angle or overhead shooting, or if I'm just running and gunning, chasing my kids, wanting to get the shot. Makes it really easy as I'm holding the camera to fire things off, see what I'm getting, even one-handed shooting. What's nice too is that this is actually a touch screen, so you can actually touch the screen to do things like autofocus or run through some of the selections. I found it to be very, very bright. It was very easy to shoot with in outdoor lighting, even bright lighting. Now, the scene modes on this camera are really cool. One of the things I like is that it has an intelligent auto mode, which means it will flip through and pick the right scene based on what the camera's seeing and sort of a quick analysis. There are no true bracketing in this camera, but you do have an HDR mode for dealing with a backlit subject, so that works pretty well. What I really liked, however, was the creative auto mode. Now, you're seeing here the 3 different auto modes that I shot, a couple of images inside the Air and Space Museum. What I liked about creative auto is that it did a great job of defocusing the background elements and put a little bit of moodier lighting in there with that nice background blur. Another thing that's really useful is the auto mode, but with flash off. The thing that always kills me is sometimes you are running and gunning and you're in auto and you're shooting in the dark and up pops the flash. And a lot of times we don't want that flash. So I can go to a true auto mode without the flash and let the camera make the intelligent decisions, but not have to worry about the flash popping up. If you go to that creative auto mode, it will engage the flash where needed, but it does do shallower depth of field, as well as taking advantage of things like changing the sync speed of the flash to get less of that artificial or pop-up flash look, and it starts to take on more of the type of an off-camera flash. Now, this works great. You'll also find 7 different creative filters that you can run on the images while shooting or after shooting. And for me, one of the things that Canon is well known for is its ability to shoot video. So I tried out the autofocus here. It sort of did movie servo where it's doing a continuous autofocus. I was able to walk around, chase the action. Camera did a really good job. Does have a built-in stereo mic here. Works fine. I would say though, for total control, you're going to want to go ahead and pop that up and plug in an external mic, such as maybe a Rode that you could then mount to the top of the camera for a shotgun mic for better pickup. There is no current headphone port on this, so it's a little bit of a bummer that you can't listen to the audio as you're recording. There is a built-in speaker so you can hear it after the fact, but I would like to see in the future that they add a headphone port, which we are seeing more and more. When it comes to recording video, all the standard choices. You could shoot 1080p or 720p, and you're going to find all the standard frame rates, including 30 and 24 when shooting up at 1080, and the ability to do overcrank with 60, which will give you slow motion effects later on in post. When it comes time to record, lots of options. It is the SD card file format size, but this does support the SDHC as well as the newer SDXC card type, giving you the ability for very high-speed cards, which is going to increase the speed at which you can capture. It's also totally compatible with the iFi system if you want to use that to wirelessly transfer images from the card. Now, speaking of card speed in the burst mode, what we found is that with a typical card, you're going to get about 22 shots shooting in a burst with JPEG, and about 6 for RAW. If you step up to a higher speed card, that's going to jump to about 30 for the high quality JPEG. And that's going to make it a lot easier if you're shooting things like a big action event or sports. When you are shooting RAW, what I really love is it is a 14-bit RAW file. So if you're using an application like Photoshop, Lightroom, Aperture, iPhoto, all these are going to make it really easy to use that high quality file and pull out the best detail. You could of course shoot different JPEG sizes or RAW plus JPEG as well. And on the video side, it's recording standard movie files with H.264 recording. So very similar to some of the other offerings from Canon like the 7D or the 5D Mark III. So the camera itself, really lightweight, works great. About 520 grams, a little over a pound, very, very reasonable. Now this camera is a good match for lots of folks getting ready to start out shooting. Let's take a real quick look at the menu system to see the type of controls that we have. All right, we'll start off with the auto setting here. I do like that not only do we get some feedback, so I don't have to guess what each icon means, but as I change through the different settings, I get a nice, simple, clear description of what the setting is going to be useful for. This really helps so you don't have to guess what that different icon might mean. It does also give you some prompting of which controls you have, so as you're changing through the different scene modes here, you'll see that it tells you which options you still have for controls and which buttons are going to be functional as you're shooting. For those of you who are getting more advanced, you will find great options here that you still have things like aperture priority or the ability to go ahead and have shutter priority or program mode, as well as true manual shooting. If we go ahead and flip on over to the full menu here, notice that we've got a very typical Canon type configuration. So things are made so you don't have to do lots of scrolling through the pages. Rather, you go through one page at a time, up and down, and don't have to be fearful about missing things. You will see really good exposure compensation, the ability to adjust in third stop increments, as well as go up to 2 stops plus or minus for compensation. And we can even shoot with auto ISO mode or go to true manual ISO control. I do also like that we have the ability to clean the sensor to also delete dust. Now, as we step through here, all the sorts of things you're used to, you'll notice that we do actually have the ability to have on-camera displays as well as touch the screen to invoke the shutter or other options. And we can get in here and start to see our images, print directly from the camera, take a look at what's happening with the image when it gives us some feedback with histogram displays, the ability to go ahead and set options like how quickly the camera powers off to preserve the battery. And this is really useful I tend to set this very low at like 30 seconds or a minute so that the camera battery life is maximized. And you can even turn down the brightness of the LCD a little bit if you need to, so that it's not so intense, making it easier to preserve the battery and not blow out the image. Now, everything else here pretty straightforward. The ability to go through and change the video system, attach things like GPS sensors if you need to, or the Wi-Fi adaptation, and including the ability to add your own custom menu for easy to access presets. Now, as we shoot with this camera, you're going to notice that it does give us great on-screen controls, putting all the key information up there, and that's nice feedback to know what sort of settings we're using. And we do have the ability to use a command dial to actually make adjustments here. Because I'm in manual mode, for example, I can easily change shutter speed. Notice too, I could step through and switch between the autofocus modes and take advantage of different on-screen controls here, stepping through picture styles. It's a very intuitive menu system, and what you're going to find is that you've got great options here as you step through. And you could simply push the button to make the selections, or use dedicated buttons here for many different options, and this is just going to quickly jump you to that setting so you can make the tweaks that you need. All right, so who needs a T4i? Well, if you're looking to get into DSLR shooting and you want to be a Canon shooter, this is a great starting point. The kit lens is very reasonable. It's going to let you get started. Certainly feel like you can upgrade down the line. Remember, it is a DSLR, a fully featured one. So you could pop off the lens, put a new lens on if you need to, and this is going to give you flexibility as you need to step up. Now, the other nice thing about this camera is that it has both the balance with scene modes and easy presets, as well as total manual controls and all of the pro shooting modes. I like to think of these as cameras that help you bridge the gap. So if you're moving from a point and shoot or a very basic all-in-one camera, this is going to help you sort of step up. It's going to give you those training wheels as you need it, and then let you switch over to total pro style shooting when you're ready. All right, a very reasonable kit. Feel free to check it out. Head on over to Adorama.com. You'll find this option as well as several other kits with different lenses or features that are worth checking out. And for Adorama TV, my name's Rich Harrington.
Adorama TV is brought to you by Adorama, your best source for the equipment and knowledge you need. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 7 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, the next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Check out the Adorama Rental Company for professional cameras, lighting, computers, and more. We'll help you make the best selection to match your needs while giving you the knowledge to achieve the best outcome from your rental. Adorama is your complete solution for equipment, printing, training, and more. Adorama, more than a camera store.